Hi, I'm Adriana. In college right now, I'm in an English class. And it's not a very good English class, in my opinion. But in that class, most of what we do is write essays. That's really all we do. And recently, I sort of took a step back for myself and looked at my essays and thought, these are all about me being trans. And they are, because at this point, for me, 3 years in, it's become, I've talked about it a lot. And so today, since the theme is courage, that seems like the obvious choice, but I wanted to talk about something different. So, this morning, I decided that instead of that, I'm going to talk about what it's like to be on the stage. I started acting when I was 4, when I played young Mowgli in a local production of The Jungle Book. I was really, really good. I obviously don't remember much of it, but lost my place. Obviously don't remember much of it, but I don't think I ever really had a hard time being in front of people. It wasn't until I got older when it started to that feeling started to creep in. I wouldn't say I ever really had stage fright, but I definitely, there were times when the thought of being in front of a crowd made me kind of want to die. So how did I get through that? How did I push through that and continue to do theater? Did I do the classic move of imagine the audience in their underwear? I've tried that, it doesn't work. What I found works for me is to try to change the audience in your eyes. Or isn't to try to change the audience in your eyes, but to make the audience part of your performance. This doesn't always work for theater, but let me explain. The audience isn't there to criticize you. They aren't there to judge or to hate. If anything, they come in neutral and decide after whether they liked it or not. They're there to enjoy something, to be entertained. Make the audience a part of the experience, and they'll love it even more. And this works for people as well. When talking to people, when trying to communicate properly with others. If you talk to them and make them feel comfortable and make the communication with them part of the exchange, you'll both be more comfortable and they'll understand you a lot more and you'll have a more human connection. I have social anxiety, but I found that in normal conversation, this trick can help a lot, is to sort of take a step back and realize for a moment that they're also human. It doesn't always work. That's the trouble with mental illness. But for the times that it does, it's been a huge tool that's helped me a lot. People aren't there to hurt you or to judge you. And when you talk to them, do it in a way that makes them feel human and honest. And you'll all be better off for it. Thank you.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Winona, and this is what I wrote. Fear. In high school, it's natural to be afraid of some things. I'm afraid of the change that will happen once I go off to college. I was once afraid that I wouldn't find my place, that I wouldn't belong. Little things like worry over how a first date is going to go, or if you studied enough to pass your midterms, is perfectly normal. It creates a tougher skin for living in the world out as an adult. It is perfectly natural to fear some things in high school. But I believe no one should ever have to fear for our lives there. Every time I hear of another school shooting, another senseless killing, and I feel an ache in my heart for victims of such tragedies. Then I look around my classroom. I look at my friends, and I see how they try to laugh it off with some gruesome jokes while the blood drains from their faces. I know what they're thinking, because I've thought it as well. When will be the next one? Will it be us? Because it has no longer become a question of if there is a next one. There is not a single person at my school who is surprised at the news of another massacre. A few weeks ago, there was a gun scare in my district. Somebody had graffitied a bathroom at Westlake High School with the words, 4 guys, 4 girls, 9 guns, Friday. That day, barely anyone showed up to Westlake's campus. And when I heard the news of such a small turnout, all I could think for the rest of the day was, what if the shooters came to my school instead? That day, I was terrified. But this service isn't about fear. This is about courage. I found my courage to fight against this from the brave souls of the Douglas High School in Florida. It was with them that this movement has started. They called students to fight back for our protection. They demand change. And we, the students of the United States, agree. The time for silence is over. We will stand and we will fight for our safety, even though we shouldn't have to. It is courage to look at those in power and demand change, especially when the adults, the ones that refuse to take true action, tell us that we don't know what we're talking about. Of course we do. And I fully believe that we will not give up until change has happened. We've started the movement, but we cannot be the only ones fighting. We need the support of older generations so that when the corrupted powerful try to silence us, we have those adults to encourage us to speak louder. Your children, your grandchildren, your neighbors, and your successors are being courageous through walkouts and marches, through speeches and discussions with politicians who have allowed this to happen. If you need an example of courage, you need only to look around you. Look at us and what we're doing. I call upon you, not just those in this congregation, not just those in my state, but everyone here who hears or hears of what I have said. I call upon you, the individual. Show these politicians that you back us up. Show them that we are not standing alone. Call your brothers and sisters to stand with us. We have shown you our courage. Now it is time for you to show us yours. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Sacha. What comes to mind when you think of courage? I picture people bathed in the golden light of divinity, wearing glittering armor and fierce, steady gazes, holding weapons against their sides. I am neither divine nor the owner of weapons and shining armor. How could I, of all people, be considered courageous? Courage is the ability to continue while facing fear. My desire to relate to this topic drove me to ask what is courage of myself and not a dictionary. I said the words, savored the meaning until it melted in my mouth, and then finally realized that I am courageous. Courage is woven into the many fibers that build the colorful quilt of our lives. It is so very prominent in every woven section that it seems to blend in and look pale behind the more vibrant-seeming emotions. Courage is easily hidden behind the sting of failure, the shroud of loss, and even the passionate shimmering of pure joy. Once discovered, it becomes clear that its glittering, delicate presence is so often embedded in our lives that courage by itself could create a quilt bigger than any other. As I tread my path of living as a transgender boy, I am lucky to feel blanketed in courage. I mustered and used all the courage I could when I came out to my family as transgender and gay. It was courage that kept me on my feet when I looked my father in the eye for so many nights and continued trying to convince him of my identity as his son, not his daughter. Courage supported the heavy weight I was holding when my favorite art teacher asked me to help paint a mural, and I wholeheartedly agreed with a smile, even though the night before my father told me that no one would ever love me because of who I am. I was courageous when I refuted and countered my father's words of prejudice and discrimination towards people who love someone of the same gender and cannot pass as white like he can. After leaving his custody, Courage helped me batten down the hatches in preparation for the storm he would produce because of my departure. My courage adds fuel to my dwindling fires of hope and wills my feet to walk me into therapy with him. Courage tends to the invisible wounds my father's words and actions inflict upon me, and I am thankful for it. I was courageous when I held my head high through the halls of Thousand Oaks High School, despite feeling like my bones would shatter into a million pieces. Courage gave me the armor to protect myself from the whopping blow of my dance teacher, outing me to the football coaches, gym classes, and entire boys' locker room on the second day of school. It helped me appear unfazed when students moved from my table and refused to work with me in class. My courage let me continue for another month at the school after the vice principal told me that I must deal with it on my own because of the conservative community we live in. Courage will care and comfort you in times of great need. It will also force you to pick up your nonviolent weapon of change and activism and create change. Mine is a pen, and with that pen, I intend to create change for better racial and gender equality.
Hello, I'm Michelle. At this age, we hear a certain phrase a lot, which is, our youth is our future. And we all think about that a lot, the future. For us, it's all we have. It's all our future possibilities and what we could be. And that's equally exciting and terrifying. We only have a vague idea of what we want to do with our lives, with the chance that we get to keep them. And it seems like it's all anyone wants to talk about. Or, on the other hand, we have these massive dreams that feel like a crushing weight and like they're doomed to fail. Sometimes it's like you're staring up at this massive mountain with dark clouds near the top, and you know nothing about it except for that your dream or your happiness is there at the top. And you're standing there looking up this monumental journey, and you start to think it's impossible, to think maybe there's no point in even trying, because the thought of failure taints every spark of hope. But we have to try. We have an obligation to whatever it is we're fighting for, to put everything we have into it, whether it's ourselves, or our careers, or our community, or a cause, or for the country, or the world. If it's something that we believe in, we have to accept the risk of failure and try anyways. And not to forget, we are community. We are not alone. Whatever fight it is that you are fighting, you are not alone. We have the strength of love in one another. All of us have overcome so much, and will overcome so much more, thanks to the courage in ourselves and the support of those who love us. Failing doesn't seem so scary if you know that there are people to catch you. We thank you all for being here as we find the courage to begin our journey.